Hello, welcome to LADA Life. I'm Linnea May Huxford, and today's topic is the stress of the initial diabetes diagnosis, measuring how much stress that is, and talking about the impact of that on your diabetes and your life. So stress has an impact on your physical health. There's a famous Holmes-Rahe Stress Scale that measures how much stress a person is having and then predicts whether they may get sick, physical illness from all the stress. They assigned life change units to common life events. For example, a death of a spouse is 100 points, divorce 73 points, imprisonment 63 points. And they said that if you have 150 points or greater in life change units, you have a 50% chance of becoming ill from the stress. So stress releases stress hormones, and not only can you get sick, but also if you have diabetes, it increases insulin resistance, which means that it is harder to take care of your diabetes and keep your blood sugar in a normal level when you're under a lot of stress, because those stress hormones cause insulin resistance, or in other words, make you less sensitive to insulin. Let's talk about the things on this scale that you might experience if you are diagnosed with diabetes, whether it's LADA diabetes, type 1 diabetes, type 2 diabetes, or some other form of diabetes. That is a personal illness diagnosis, which on the scale is 53 points just for the diagnosis alone. And then there's a lot of things that come with that diagnosis potentially. For example, revision of personal habits. Maybe with that diagnosis, you need to check your blood sugar regularly. Maybe you need to have a CGM and monitor your blood sugar. That blood glucose monitoring and other changes in your personal habits, that's 24 points of additional stress. Then there's change in eating habits, which is 15 points. Reducing carbohydrates, following a diet for people with diabetes is highly recommended, and that is that's more stress. Whether, it very well may be a very good thing in the long run, but that does not discount the fact that making that change is a stressful thing, and you'll have to, and it adds up. And then there's change in financial state. Okay, well, with diabetes, you have to see the doctor more often. You need medication, potentially insulin. Everything costs money here. Diabetes supplies, the glucose test strips. If you get an insulin pump, the insulin pump plus the insulin pump supplies. The CGM, the continuous glucose monitoring, that is fairly costly. Blood work, when you have to go to the doctor, you also have to get blood tests. So all this stuff adds up, and it could have a significant financial impact, adding additional stress on your life. 38 points for that. Change in social activities. Now, a person with diabetes in general should be able to do everything as anybody without diabetes, but when you first get diagnosed with diabetes, you may be having low blood sugar events, you may be getting used to the insulin and trying to figure out the right dose of insulin. You may find that exercise, things that you would normally do, whether that is taking a run, bike riding, even doing chores around the house, that you might get low blood sugar. You may hesitate to want to go out to dinner with people. Maybe you don't want to go to a party if there's going to be a lot of cake and sweet stuff, food, a lot of snacks high in carbohydrates. Are you going to change what you do, your social life, because of changing your diet? Not necessarily, but it is possible, right? So if that is happening, that's 18 points right there. And then change in sleeping habits. Diabetes technology can wake you up at night. I think that with today's technology, if you have enough money, you can get a very good insulin pump, and working with your diabetes care team and the insulin pump educator, should be able to tune in the insulin pump settings so that you're not waking up in the middle of the night very often. But there's all kinds of reasons that you might wake up in the middle of the night, whether it's low blood sugar or your CGM is alerting you of a false low reading. Sometimes that happens, a compression low, or maybe it's a real low blood sugar. But either way, that CGM can make beep, beep, beep sounds at you. The CGM can also just stop working before you go to bed at night, and then you stay up trying to figure out what the deal is with your diabetes technology. What if the insulin flow gets blocked in your insulin, if you're using an insulin pump? Anyway, diabetes has kept many people up at night. Maybe it's just stress from all this that's keeping you up at night. Changes in sleeping habits during the initial diabetes diagnosis, and really until things get better, until you figure out what's going on with your blood sugar, this is very possible. Change in recreation. I sort of touched on this before, but like if you are a very active person, all of a sudden you may not feel like you can do all the things that you did before because of the low blood sugar, or maybe you're because of the diabetes technology and you're afraid that something's going to happen. I think adapting to diabetes does take time, and during the initial diagnosis period, it's not unusual for all of these things changing and all of these changes to be underway here. It's a big life-changing thing to be diagnosed with diabetes. And there's lots of different kinds of diabetes, and there's lots of different journeys of diabetes. Sometimes things get worked out pretty well for a while, but the stress builds up, and treating that stress, that is a valuable part of treating diabetes, because if you're under stress, it is going to be harder to keep your blood sugar in control. So all of these things, if they apply to you and you add them up, this is 183 points on this scale, this stress scale, which is high enough to potentially cause sickness. And then look at your family around you. If they're stressed, that's 44 points. They're 44 points of stress for them, scared for you, change in health of a family member. And then you've got stress going on in the household. Scoring the life change index. So the life change units, this is, I'll post a link in the description here. This is what the meaning of this, of all these numbers are, and the prediction. It says the following chart, it will tell you if you're at risk of being sick from the stress itself. So I don't want to leave this like on a downer. I think this all is why we need mental health support for people that are being diagnosed with diabetes, that mental health is a really huge part. However, I really am positive overall, and even though the diagnosis can be extremely stressful and it can take a long time to figure things out, it's there in the end for a lot of people. Having something like type 1 diabetes or LADA diabetes does cause a lot of positive changes in your life. So I really love this quote here. Liz Warren posted it on x.com, and she says, "Being negative only makes a tough journey more difficult. If given a cactus, you don't have to sit on it." And then this is the quote. It says, "Diabetes is the leading cause of blindness, amputation, kidney disease, blah, blah, blah. We've heard that enough. The truth, diabetes is the leading cause of courage, self-awareness, persistence, maturity, empathy, appreciation, enlightenment, understanding, compassion, bravery, fortitude, substance, personality, daring, grit, and guts. Take that and fold it up and put it in your pocket for a while." So let's take a deep breath, and in a future episode of LADA Life, this LADA Life podcast you're listening to, I will talk a lot about coping with stress. It's so very important. The other thing to note is that your life story is something that you can form when you look back on your life. And right now you might be going through a very difficult moment, or maybe you have a family member you're supporting who's going through a difficult moment. It's just one moment in time. Take each day, one day at a time. I think a lot of these things, if you work on the diabetes and taking care of yourself and figuring out how to treat the diabetes, a lot of these things, these good things, can really come true. It takes time, and the stress needs to be something that is addressed. For a lot more on LADA diabetes, check out my book, Success with LADA Diabetes. And I write about diabetes on my website, insulinpumplife.com. Please comment below if you have any thoughts on this, or if you have any questions. Tell me about your situation. Did you experience a lot of these stressful things when you were diagnosed? How long ago was that? Did it get better? What did you learn about yourself? Thank you.